Well, we've done it, guys. This is episode 104, which essentially means we've done 2 years, 2 complete years of getting something out of this shed every week. Yes, the shed was full right to the front door. I've got the selfie stick here, so my phone's right about where the wall is. I'm about 5 feet back. We go another probably 10 feet, and we're only just around about halfway through this shed, so maybe 4 years to finish it. I'm not sure, but I'm having fun. I'm finding some great stuff. And if you're new to the channel, this is an emergency storage shed where everything got moved from my old shop when I had to leave there quickly. I've been a second-hand dealer for, well, about 24 years now, cleaning out deceased estates, cleaning out people's sheds. A lot of stuff got stashed. A lot of good stuff got stashed, and now we're discovering it. So it's a bit of a long-winded journey, but I'm looking forward to gradually getting this shed back to become part of a new workshop. Well, an extension of my other workshop, and the other part's full of junk too, but that's just beside the point. And someone once said, why don't you just get a skip in and empty it and set up your workshop? You know, life's too short. Well, I don't want to miss out on this journey. I'm having a ball. It's like one big lucky dip. And I know a lot of you guys are. You follow me regularly. There's always lots of comments. If you're new to the channel, be sure to join in, hit the subscribe button. This isn't the only series I've got going at the moment. This is a long introduction. Let's get into it. We've got to find some treasures. Okay, so last week we found some more concrete. We emptied a pile of boxes that was on top of a TV, and incidentally, I've sold the TV, got $50 for it. So thanks, Mark. I think Mark now watches my channel. I hope he's happy with it. We've got to get those boxes off the top, and I did promise that we'd have a look at these old scales. They're in parts. It's like a kit form. I don't know if it's all there, so we'll see if we can make something out of that we can actually sell. Then we'll get that black tub in on the bench and see what's in it. Here are the scales. We'll get to them shortly. And this black tub is full of workshop consumables, so we should get through this pretty quick. We've just got to sort out what to do with them, and then we can have a look at the tub that was next to it. But what we have in here, other than the funnel and a roll-up extension cord, it's just a heap of rattle cans. I don't know if they're paint or spray lube or something. There's a big bottle of mineral turpentine, so some stuff that I'll use. And often when I clean out people's sheds, I take all this stuff home because it saves me buying it. So not terribly exciting in terms of treasure hunting, but really this series is about how to deal with stuff. Do I need that extension cord? It's quite an old one. Oh, it looks like the wire's pulling away from the plug. I think we'll actually just pull the wire out of that and scrap it for the insulated copper wire. But yeah, dealing with stuff. Because I'm cleaning out people's sheds all the time and houses, I don't want to throw stuff into a skip or landfill. We want to try and reuse as much as we can, and even if it means giving it away to people. But I do have a shop where I sell second-hand stuff. WD-40 older cans, they're obviously a bit rusty, but they still should be fine. Both of them have got a fair bit in it. I will certainly use that. We have something where the labels come off. It looks like a bottle of fuel conditioner, something like that, octane booster. Oh, hang on, there's a label in here. Oh yes, it's a diesel, amazing diesel power up. So I could probably run that in the van. I'd say that would be all right. Looks like something's leaking. I wonder if that is. Okay, I think that was the bottle that was leaking. We'll soon find out. What do we got here? A can of Kill Rust epoxy gloss enamel top coat. Is that like a epoxy, like a clear finish? Oh no, it says white. So it's an enamel paint for steel basically, and that feels pretty good. I will keep that one. Rattle cans, these are paint, appliance white. Of course it depends if they've still got the gas in them, but as someone pointed out in a recent video, you can recharge them with an air compressor. You don't get a long life out of the spray, but it does enable you to get paint out, and I think that's just a matter of pulling the nozzle off and just charging it with air. I think I've also seen someone use like a bike pump. The other option is to, if there's no gas in it, to actually puncture the can. Then you can pour the paint out into a little jar. Someone said that in my last video too. This one might even work. Oh yeah, so that one's fine. We'll hang on to that. And another one here, which is a satin black, feels full. Another one, more appliance white. What's this one? Fiddly Bits, just a different brand. Roper River Blue, interesting colour. I guess that's the blue. Yeah, that's still got some in it too. Metal Primer spray paint. Well, I will certainly use that. Squirts, another brand. Quick Dry Multi-Purpose Enamel. Flat white. So this was obviously out of a paint cupboard somewhere. Clear. I do use the clear quite often. I spray a lot of rusty metal stuff. I give it a clean up and then I spray it with clear. It leaves a nice rustic look, but it's clean to touch and it gives it a bit of a gloss. So I do use the clear quite a lot. Great for putting old rusty things in the shop. Another one of clear. That's handy. This is a very old spray enamel. This one, gloss black. Feels mostly empty. We'll see if that works. So I think I'll put all these in my paint cupboard. Aluminium. And as I go to use them, if they're no good, well, I can either puncture the can to get the paint out, or if they're nearly empty, I'll throw them out. DWF, it's dewatering fluid, so it's like a spray lube. Helps prevent rust, will loosen rusty bolts, and helps start wet engines because it actually disperses the water. That's an older can of it. It was a Castrol can, but it's near full, so that should be all right. Does it still spray? Oh yeah, that's good. Another paint can, that one is aluminium. Stencil spray. Okay, cool. I don't think I have a use for that, but you never know. I take it it's like a matte black. And another one there, that's probably a clear. It's got a clear top on it. Very good. That's all the paints. We have a little bit more WD-40. And maybe this was what was leaking. Motorcraft. Oh, it's a corrosion inhibitor. I think that goes in your radiator. Feels full. I'll just check that out. But I might put that in the old Utes radiator. That looks like an acid. It doesn't have a label on it. But it's probably a hydrochloric acid. I will check that out. Could be a solder flux. A little 3-in-1 oil. 3 fluid ounces. That feels like it's got a fair bit in it. Now, this is not pink lemonade. I did ask the guy, I cleaned out a bloke's shed and he was still around, and I said, what's the pink stuff? And he said, it's a very good aluminium cleaner. But he said, use gloves. So I'm not exactly sure what the chemical is, but apparently it was really good for cleaning up aluminium. Better rewrite that because I don't want some kid thinking it's a latest flavour soft drink. Shouldn't really put chemicals in drink bottles, should you? There's an auto spray. I think that's as good as empty. We can throw that out. A paintbrush. In fact, that's a near new paintbrush. Excellent. I use these often just for dusting electronics. They've got a really nice soft bristle on them. Deck clean. Well, we'll use that on our deck at some stage. I have another bottle of exactly the same stuff. It's half full, so I'll just consolidate because that hasn't got much in it. And then the bottle can go in the recycle bin. That's the end of our tub. Let's go and get the other one. I'll clean up this mess on the desk. We'll go and get the other one and see if there's any treasures in that. But just before we do that, I'll just show you what I've done with this lot. I've put all the paint away in the paint cupboard. Yes, I'm starting to get organised in this shed. I'll put the spray lube away. I've re-texted the label on that, so now I know what it's for. And I did look it up. I think it's a brand of Blitz, if I remember rightly. Blitz Aluminium Cleaner by a chemical company I can't quite remember. Chem something. Chemtech it might have been. Apparently it's very good, and 5 litres of it retails for like nearly $70, so it's not cheap stuff. I've also relabeled the corrosion inhibitor, so it is Motorcraft being a Ford brand. I was going to put it in the Ute, but my Ute's a Toyota, and it's not always compatible with whatever coolant you have in your cooling system already. So rather than risk that, I think I'll take it to the shop, and I do have a box of assorted shed stuff for $2 each, so someone will probably grab it for that. Also, I'll put this funnel in the same box. It's got the strainer in it, so I might get $2 for that. The mineral turpentine, it's a full bottle, Diggers brand. They cost about $20, a bit over $20 at our local chain hardware store. And I actually have pretty good stock of mineral terps at the moment. I don't use a lot of it. So that one can go to the shop for, say, $10. Someone will get a bargain. I'll get $10 that I didn't have before. So I think that's the best way to deal with that. I don't need to keep enough that my kids will have to throw it out when I'm gone, so we might as well sell it. I cut the cord off this old roll-up cord tidy thing. There's about $2.50 worth of scrap wire there, so that's better to me than trying to resell this, which I'm sure I won't be able to. These things aren't the best idea, actually, because unless you unroll it completely, if you have it partially rolled up and you run something off it that draws a fair bit of current, a coiled cord will actually heat up, so it's not ideal. And you sometimes see a tag on extension cords to say unroll completely. So they're not the best idea. I guess they're tidy. But anyway, that's an older one. I'm going to send that to the e-waste crates out at the transfer station because it is actually electrical still. And that will go on my copper wire bins. This actually is hydrochloric acid. I took the lid off. It's got that distinctive yellow colour to the fluid. I took a very gentle smell of just the residue on the lid from a decent distance away because you don't want to breathe in the fumes of this stuff. They'll burn. And it's definitely hydrochloric acid. Handy for cleaning rust off old bottles, being a bottle collector. But I think you can also use it for removing stains from concrete. Lots of uses. So I will add that to my stock of hydrochloric acid I have here, which isn't a great deal, and it's nearly full, so that'll be handy. And the last thing, the 3-in-1 oil is mostly full, but it hasn't had a cap on it. So it's most likely contaminated with dust, so you wouldn't want to introduce contaminated oil into somewhere where you need a good lubricating oil. So I'm just going to squeeze that out into my drum of oil to go to the transfer station for recycling, and the container can then just go in, well, probably the recycle bin. Has got a barcode, so it's not an old one. It's not really a collectible, saleable container. Okay, let's get into this other tub and see if we can find something to sell rather than just distribute in my workshop. All right, this is a real mixed bag of stuff, actually. Bakelite electrical fittings, mostly lamp switches, and any of you that watch my channel regularly will know I keep these because I do make up lamps, I do repair lamps, and I am often using these old lamp switches. In fact, I have a couple of lamps at the shop at the moment that I need a good one for, and I haven't found the other box that I have stashed here somewhere, so I might take this box to the shop. But that's all stuff I will keep, including these collar things that just usually hold the lampshade on. Now there are a number of different threads, so if you've ever tried to put one of these on a lamp and it does up a little bit and goes tight, there are different pitched threads on some of these collars. The more modern ones are different to the Bakelite ones, but I've even found different threads in the same era. So if you have trouble screwing them on, it's not always because the thread's damaged. In fact, you'll probably result in damaging the thread by putting it on. So I do keep a good stash of those. So that's just stock for repairing lamps. This one is what? I vaguely remember this. This is going back a lot of years. This is some stuff I made up. A really crude air manifold. And that one as well. I'd made these up. I have a pressure tester somewhere for checking the crankcase of two-stroke engines to see if oil seals are leaking. So when I was repairing two-strokes, chainsaws mainly, but also some lawnmowers and many other two-stroke engines, the crankcase on them has to be airtight for them to work properly. And I made up a series of little bits and pieces to be able to test certain engines. This is going back to the 1990s when I had my small engine repair shop. So I'm going to hang on to these bits and pieces. I will probably upgrade them as I get into small engine repairs more, and I will be doing that once my shed gets more organised. And so I think I'll hang on to this for now. There's nothing saleable in that at all. It's really only just scrap metal. But I have made up these for various jobs. They probably suited chainsaws that dated back to the 70s. So most likely this will end up in the scrap other than perhaps the air fittings. But I will hang on to it because it's something that I will probably refine and make up proper fittings and things, especially when I get my lathe set up and I do a few more small engine repairs. So that's a blast from the past. No value there for us though. All right, we have a jeweler's screwdriver set. Looks a pretty cheap set. It most likely will be an early made in China one, and the screwdrivers, most of them haven't been used, but they're normally very poor quality steel. I'll probably just sell that set. I have enough here. I'll just clean it up. We might just put $5 on it. It should sell pretty quickly. I'll see if there's a brand in there, but that we will sell. All right, we have a tin here with more lamp fittings and some globes. So I'll sort them out at the shop, but I'll probably keep or file most of those away for future use. Some tin snips. I think I've got enough tin snips here. These were probably out of my original toolkit when I had my small engine shop. Well, they're made in Germany, so we might get $10 for those. Oh, I've had a heap of these recently, little handles for using with broken hacksaw blades. I'll throw them in a dollar box at the shop. I've got one of those here now. A lamp glass, or a light shade. These ones sometimes went this way on the old Art Deco bedside lamps, but more often than not they were used as a ceiling lamp. Someone's put some tape around there because they obviously had the wrong gallery and they had to pack it out. I've got a lot of light shades and things to sell. When we get further into the emergency storage shed, there are boxes of them. Some are nice old Art Deco ones, some are quite modern. I might just clean this up and put it in the shop for $5. I've got a bit of a selection, and they do sell. People are sometimes looking to match one that they've broken. Lots of lamp parts here. That's a ceiling lamp which had the big flying saucer type shade on it. And I think I've actually got one of those big shades at the shop, so I'll take this to the shop. I think it'll fit up to that and hang it from the roof. Retro light fitting complete. We could get $30 or $40, $50. As that is, probably not worth a great deal. And the shade as it is just looks like a really large glass saucer with a hole in the middle. That would be 1950s, Bakelite fittings, chromed, probably could be nickel plated or chromed brass. No, it's steel, but that's probably brass underneath. So yeah, not really much scrap value. There's a bit of wire going up the middle. I'm better off trying to fix that up as a complete retro flying saucer light and getting much better dollars for it. So probably nothing to write down here though. A little square, builder square, and it's quite rusty. It'll clean up okay, but I think it's just a cheapie. I can't see a brand on it. If it was a Stanley or something, I'd clean it up and put maybe $10 on it, but that's gonna go in the $1 box, I think. Don't have time to clean those things up for a few dollars. A die-cast light holder. Does that actually fit this one? No, it's probably too big. Yeah, way too big. I'll hang on to this though, because I do hang lots of lights from the ladders in the shop, and various light shades need various size galleries, they call it. Now that's actually, as I said, it's a die cast. It's made to look brass, but it's not brass. Probably 1970s era. It's missing one of the screws, but I have plenty of those screws. And here's another one, an aluminium one, more of a 70s. Well, it's a different style, and that suits another different shade that we don't have here. So I'll keep those because I use them for hanging up lights in the shop. And of course, the hole in the middle on these suits these light switches. So even though that's a switch for a lamp, I can still use it with the suitable collar under there to hang a light in the shop. Doesn't matter that you can't switch it on or off. I sometimes have them powered so they're on. Other times I just hang them from a wire just for display. So yeah, that's why I'm keeping those galleries. No value there again. An old light shade here. That's an old enamelled tin one with an original fitting in it. And you know, cleaned up, that would still sell for probably about $10. It's the old style light shade you would have seen in a workshop or a farm shed, or they often were in all sorts of outbuildings, even verandas in the old farmhouses. So that's pretty cool. I'll give that a clean up. I think we'll be able to sell that, especially when it's hanging from a piece of wire from the roof of the shop. Looks pretty cool. The rest of the box There's just various cables I've saved with switches in them. And again, they're parts that I use, so I'll file them away. If any of the cords are a bit rough or too dirty, I will just chop the plugs off. That one's pretty dirty. Chop the plugs off, throw the wire in the insulated wire bin, get a couple of dollars back for that. But having a ready supply of cords with switches is great for me when I'm repairing lamps. Another little gallery here. That's a much older one. That one actually suits. So we could hang that up in the shop for $10. But I think I'll just write down 5 for this as far as the value goes today. I'll keep all these until I'm ready to fit things and hang them in the shop. Various stems and things out of lamps. Oh, we do have something else in here. This is a little tool set. Security bit. I've got a couple of sets here. This is an old one that I've had for many years. Much the same as what you buy today. Looks like it's missing one of the bits. But I'll hang on to that here because quite often I'm looking for the one that I have and I can't remember where I put it. So I'll stash another one in the shed here. So end of our tub. Really very little value out of this one, but a lot of stuff to sort out, get out of my shed, some parts for me to use, and just a few things to sell. Right, I'll tidy up and we'll have a go at putting those scales back together. But before we get to the scales, there's something very satisfying about saying something will be handy one day and then actually using it in the same video. So this is that lampshade. I've just cleaned it up with some steel wool and some soapy water. Just get rid of any loose rust and we'll give it some clear lacquer. And while the lacquer's drying, I've just broken up one of the switches on these lamp cords and I'm going to just peel the wires off the contacts. I think they're soldered or are they crimped? No, the wires have been tinned, which is good. But I think they've actually just been crimped. These switches are pretty cheap. I'll pull that one out of there. There we go. Now I'm going to just peel back the outer sheath a little bit and I'll use this cord with the plug on the end to wire up the light fitting to go in the shade we've just cleaned up. Okay, we should be able to gently snip this just a few millimeters at a time so we don't cut the wires. Equally, you could use a Stanley knife or a blade or something. But I just need a bit more length on the individual wires here. Okay, that should be back far enough. Now, before we fit the fitting, we have to remember to put the back cover on because we have a plug the other end of the wire, remember? Okay, so we can put these in the terminals. We'll do one first. Doesn't matter which side they go in for a light globe. Do up the screw. Fairly firm, but not over tight, or you'll guillotine the wire. Now we've got to loop it around under this hook. Let's go this way, otherwise the screw head gets in the road. Poke it under that hook. It's not much of a hook. It's just something to help hold the weight of the light when it's hanging from the cord. So I think we've got enough wire there, yep. We do the same to the other side. A little bit awkward to do. Sometimes you need to pare a little bit of the insulation back. Now I'm only doing this really so that we can hang the light. So the wire will actually be the, whoops, I need to back that out a bit. So the wire will actually be strong enough to hang the light without the light and the shade dropping, letting go and dropping to the floor. It will work electrically, but these lights that hang from the ceiling do need to be wired in Australia at least. They need to be wired in by a qualified electrician. You can't do that sort of electrical work yourself, or not legally. Okay, that's firm. But because I've actually got a plug on the end of this, I can actually plug it in and show the light working. There we go. So both wires are under the hooks, which means that it's nice and strong. It won't pull out of the terminals. We can slide the cover up there and put that on. And a lot of these lights were often hung up in sheds and actually plugged into a power point anyway. So there we go, that's finished. When our shade is ready, we can hook it back up and see what it looks like when it's actually turned on. Now that the light shade is ready, we can then just assemble our fitting with the collar. And I found a older incandescent 40-watt globe. And we can turn it on. How's that? Can you even see it's on? 40 watts isn't much. There we go. Beautiful. Old style tin, and I think it was originally painted green on top. Light shade assembly, classic early Australian type lighting, back probably in the 30s, 40s, and even into the 50s. And a lot of these hung around for many, many years. I'm going to put probably $15 on that now that I've gone to the trouble of putting a wire on it. I won't have it going in the shop, but I'll just hang it from the ladders off this cord. And if someone buys it and wants to put it in their house or something, they will have to have it wired properly. So this is really just a temporary cord to test it and display it. Okay, let's see if we can make any sense out of these scales. Or is it a set of scales when it's one of these balance ones, or is it a scale? Is it singular? It's a weighing apparatus. All right, so it's been dismantled. It's been quite oily. I wonder if someone's soaked it in oil to free up parts, or whether it's just been in a shed and it's had oil drip into it. All right, the mechanism there all looks complete, but I can't see any screws, so I'm not sure what holds it together. Oh, actually, it might just have tabs that bend over, because the base plate just has slots. But that's very messy. I think probably what I'll do first is take it into the, what's that? Maybe the very top. So there's one screw and another screw. That's all we've got. Oh no, there's a few more in the bottom of this tub. All right, I think I'll take it through to the laundry and give it a good scrub in the trough there with some hot soapy water. Clean it up a bit and we can see what we're working with. But I think really that just all these pieces just sit together with tabs. But we'll have to hook up the needle somehow. The needle works on has a little pinion gear in there, and that seems to operate freely. Moves the needle around. We'll have to coordinate that somehow with this rack. So it's a rack and pinion type setup. All right, well, it looks to be all there. I'll clean it up and we'll try and assemble it. Okay, it's cleaned up okay. It's not as oily now or as dirty to work with. It'll be a prime candidate for another spray of clear lacquer, I think, if we can get it together. I even cleaned up my container, so I can reuse that. All right, I probably won't waste too much time on the video as far as this goes. I'm just going to basically put it together as I work it out, basically like a jigsaw where you don't have any instructions. Clearly that sits in there. Of course, the trickiest part might be lining up the rack and pinion. And I'm hoping there's nothing broken or missing. I mean, I wonder why it was taken apart. Oh, okay. Before we put that in, we do need to put this in. And there's some screws hold that frame. So we'll do that first. And perhaps I'll just work away here silently, and then I can speed up the video and you can see it done in record Olympic scale assembling time. Okay, well that went together very well, although I'm 180 degrees out of alignment here with the needle, so I think I just needed to have it in the right place when I drop the rack through. I don't think I need to take it apart again. I think I can just flex the rack out of the road. But there's nothing broken. It appears to be complete. We have one side cover to go on once I get the needle lined up, and I think this piece just sits on top. In fact, we can put that in now with a large countersunk screw. I'm guessing it would have had some sort of plate to sit on top, but I don't have that. We still have 3 screws left. We had 2 go in the bottom. Oh, one secures this side cover, but I don't think any other screws suit, so they may have fallen in the box from something else. But anyway, I'll just finish this up. I'll give it a spray of clear lacquer, and that completes our scales. Not a restoration, an assembly, a puzzle. And there we have them all fixed up. I managed just to take the needle off and turn it up the other way. It's on a square shaft, so that was easy enough to fix. And the 2 other screws went in this other side cover. So every single part was there, and it's all been assembled, and it works perfectly. I haven't actually weighed anything to see if it's calibrated. Really doesn't make any difference. You can alter the adjustment here to compensate for a tray if you put on the top. So that all works fine. But someone will probably just have it for decoration. Really nice old metal scales from the past. I would say they probably date to the 1930s or thereabouts. I think they're branded Hughes, was it? Hughes family scale. Anyway, there we go, that's done. I'm going to put $30 on those. I would expect them to sell fairly quickly. And so from some boxes that we thought was no value really at all, we've ended up with $75. I mean, we did a bit of value adding, certainly with the scales, putting them together, and with the light over there. I did clean up this stem, and I had a look at the shop. I was there earlier today, and I didn't find, I thought I had one of those large old glass shades. I must have sold it, but I suspect there's one in my shed here or one in the store shed at the shop. So I'm going to hang on to that for now. I haven't written down any value for it, but it's going to turn a glass shade of not much value and this of not much value into at least $50. So that will come back to repay us later on. So I'm not writing down anything else for that, nor am I writing down these items that I'll put in the $2 box. We had about $3 worth of insulated copper wire over there, so really not bad out of these tubs. Plus I've got a lot of electrical stuff for fixing lamps, as well as those security bits and a few other $1 items. So there we go, episode 104 of the emergency storage shed, around about $75. And a few people asked about checking back on previous weeks, because I am doing that with my e-waste series. Now, this is last week's, this is the week before. None of this stuff has actually made it into the shop yet. It's still in a box to go to the shop, so I haven't had a chance to sell any of this. But we did sell that TV, as I mentioned earlier in this episode. So Mark had a look at the video and he was after something like that, so he came into the shop. So the TV's gone, which is awesome, but nothing else there has sold because it hasn't been released to the public yet. And the week before that, well, I'd crossed it out because I've been throwing these out once I've finished the video. But I'll keep them and I'll show you back the previous few weeks. We won't go way back, but this was episode 101. I had sold the tech screws. You may not even remember this. The brass microscope, as you saw on our eBay series, we got our $50 for that. So that was all right. The welding electrodes we've sold. The set of Turner knobs we sold. A switch. The 4-pin plug and sockets apparently were for a telephone. They've gone. So as you can see, a lot of the stuff from that episode has been sold. So I will check in previous weeks each time just to keep you up to date with what's moving. But I won't be as tough on myself in this series as I am with the e-waste series, because I really want to clear that stuff up within, say, a month. So I'm giving a couple of weeks at a set price, then I'm dropping the price by about half for another week or two, and if it still doesn't sell, it'll probably be free giveaways. So I'm really keen to move that stuff, and by doing so, I guess I'm demonstrating that you can process stuff. You don't have to just hang on to it or hold out for your price. It's all a matter of moving it on, finding a new home for it somehow, because I've got more stuff coming in all the time, and if I don't get it out the other end when it comes in this end, my shed's going to explode. So you know what I mean. It's a matter of processing and being disciplined and moving stuff on. So that's what I like to do, and I'm giving stuff new homes and saving it from going into the waste stream. As for the stuff out of my emergency storage shed, well, not very much of it's going to waste at all. We're usually either selling it or using it in the shed or scrapping it for metal recovery or something like that. So we're always looking at different options. The landfill is the last option. If we can totally avoid it, we will. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope none of you are going into landfill. I hope I'm not going into landfill. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.